Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach Nuff channel. In this video we're continuing our team by team preview series by looking at the four-time defending champions, the Penrith Panthers. So I guess we know what to expect from the Penrith Panthers, so I guess a lot of the team analysis will be pretty standard. Um, Interestingly enough, this is the first time I haven't been able to fill out the squad. Um, I literally ran out of budget. So yeah, we know there's some quality in this team, and if you want it, you may have to pay up for it. But starting at fullback, we've got Dylan Edwards. Um, in the conversation amongst those elite keepers at fullback, um, definitely no harm in starting him. His big downside is he's now firmly entrenched as the New South Wales fullback. Which means that through Origin you probably can't afford to keep him in your team. But at 8.39, he's not the most expensive option, so could be an interesting point of difference. Only 6% owned currently. Obviously has Dane Laurie at backup, but as I said, I couldn't put Dane Laurie on the screen here because ran out of budget. So it is what it is. In the centre wing, so Brian Tyre, Isaac Tungo, Paul Alamwadi, you can probably lock into that starting team. Brian Tyre, we know what he does year in, year out. So a really great option for a set and forget keeper. Isaac Tungo had a bit of a down year after a massive year in 2023. Potentially, that was with Cleary missing a lot of the season, didn't help. So if Cleary's back fit and firing this year, at 501k, he could be one that we really want to get on to chase that value. Paul Alamwadi, at 585k, had a good year last year, but probably, priced at what he is worth. And I guess the big talking point this year is the vacant wing spot with Taruva going to the Tigers. And it basically comes down to the McLean brothers. Casey has a bit more experience last year, playing 7 games. Jesse only getting the 1 game. Obviously, for value, if Jesse got the start, we would lock him into our squads. But I think if Casey gets it, given the potential he has shown, he scored 4 tries on international debut for New Zealand. At 443, there is still a lot of money to make there. So I think you can start with whichever one gets the starting gig. There is an argument. If Casey gets the start, you could park Jesse on the bench. He would be the next man up, you'd imagine. Although if it's a centre thereafter, it could be Kapoa, who's come across from the Tigers, that could slot in there. You can see he's second row eligible as well, so he could also be a bench utility yet. So if you play both, I'm not too sure. In the halves, Blaze Lungy coming across to sort of take the spot there from Jerome Luai. I think Cole will be a little bit flat that they've sort of recruited someone to replace Luai, but interestingly, Schneider's also given a 5/8 designation. So basically, I think they're sort of open. SuperCoach is open to the options of all 3, Partner and Cleary in the halves. But Cleary, we number 1 halfback in the game, number 1 halfback in SuperCoach. As far as I'm concerned, if he's fit for round 1, he's set and forget. The forward pack. So the big talking point in the forward pack is Fisher Harris moving over to the Warriors. But I think Lindsay Smith just slots in the front row. He's played for Australia now, so not too bad for someone who was sort of struggling to get a start at the Panthers, but just shows you how good they are. Moses Leota probably becomes the leader of the pack now. but I don't think that leads to a big uptick in his production. He starts off, massive wrecking ball at the start, comes back in the back end and does some damage. Liam Henry's an interesting one if he did sort of find a way to get the start over Smith, given that he can play big minutes. Um, but really, he's just going to come on and rotate through the middle. And I think Eisenhuth as well will probably, either be in the squad or will be the first one up if someone's injured. They do have a couple of middle forward options in their second row. Um, Obviously, Isaiah Yeo is another lock. Whether you can afford to start him and Cleary, and you like a Brian Tyre, it's hard to fit them all in. But Yo is definitely one that you want to have by the end of the season. So I'm probably not going to start with him just because I'm sort of looking for a bit of value in the second row, fading a lot of the keepers to start. But yeah, one I'll be very anxious to get in the team. On the edge, Liam Martin has locked in an edge, but doesn't often get through the 80 minutes. Just the way he gives that intensity, they do sort of chop him out. Sometimes move him in the middle if they need to. So a bit hard to trust. And then the left edge, which has been a bit of a um, turnstile the last few years, not in terms of defence, but just they've tried some different options there with Sorensen, Garner, and now Papali'i coming across from the Tigers. We all remember what he did when he got that edge spot at the Eels, 80 minutes, and just did his thing. So if he can recapture that form at the Panthers, I think 585 is good value. Um, it's just I just want to see the trials before I commit. Maybe by the time this video is out, we would have seen him in a trial. He was named in the first week of the preseason challenge, so we might have a bit more information then. As I said, Luke Garner, Scott Sorensen have played on the edge in the past. Um, Zach Hosking was the other one I was trying to think of, but he's not at Penrith anymore. Um, but particularly Sorensen can also play through the middle, so that sort of may hurt his chances of getting the starting spot. But we have seen in the past when he's played on that edge that 485 is a ridiculous value. And Mav Geyer as well is one that could potentially force his way into the team. They also have Preston Ricky and a couple of cheapies that might give it a shake. Yeah, so hooker, I think Mitch Kenny, locked in, plays big minutes, but it's more of a tackle and distribute the ball kind of hooker. Sonny Luke has that upside, but I think they prefer Somerton, who is a bit more like for like in terms of replacing Mitch Kenny. So, in terms of Supercoach relevance, just to recap, I think Dylan Edwards is a pod at fullback, yes. Tong Toro, if you like him as a keeper, yes. Tungo, you could punt on as an underpriced premium. The McLean guys, depending on how the team list shakes up, could have one, could have both in your team. Nathan Cleary, I think, is a must have. Isaiah Yeo, if you've got the cash. And that's probably it. But even then, I've just rattled off what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 names. You can't start with all 7. So, if you had to pick 3, I'd be going Cleary, one of the McLeans, and then one of Yo, Tyre, Edwards, whichever one you like as a keeper would be my recommendation. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, any questions and comments about the Penrith team below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the SuperCoach content and these team by team previews in particular. Subscribe for all fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.